I'm Ashley Kajowski. I'm the Director of New Business here at Ideas Made Measurable, or IMM for short. We are a Boulder-based digital-first marketing and advertising agency. I'm delighted to be joined by Gina Lee DeFreitas. She is the president of IMM, and as IMM's third employee, she has spent the last decade building an agency focused on solving business challenges through transformational strategy and digital marketing. She is a veteran of the industry with time spent at New York-based Soho Digital and a stint at Google. And Gina's approach to business is anchored in her unique ability to develop a diverse set of talent on her teams, which ultimately results in truly holistic solutions for IMM's clients. One thing I do want to add as well, we've also saved a few minutes at the end for Q&A, so please feel free to submit your questions as they come up throughout the presentation. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you, Gina. Welcome, and let's get started.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. And thanks everyone again for joining our Embracing Transformation webinar. We know everyone's super busy today, so we appreciate you taking the time. So again, I'm Gina Lee DeFreitas, president here, and we'll jump in. So we know that COVID-19 has been top of mind for everyone, and I'm sure you've been to many webinars, read several articles on the topic, even just today, and that's great. But today we're actually going to talk about business transformation. Whether we like it or not, all of our businesses are currently being transformed. Today this webinar is actually an example of how our business is being transformed. And so today that transformation is through the lens of a global pandemic, but tomorrow it could be based on something entirely different. Point being is that what we don't want you guys to do is create a COVID-19 specific strategy. What's happening today is going to be happening for a while, and it must be a forever change if you're not only to survive, but actually thrive. So in terms of the normal, so there is no going back to normal. We'll be able to go back to work in offices again. Kids will go back to school eventually, but to think that everything's going to be as it once was is naive. So we have to acknowledge that normal is actually being transformed and that we actually have a unique opportunity right now to create a better normal. So this is me and my 7-month-old daughter, Luna. And this has been my normal for the past 9 weeks or so. Jury's still out as to whether or not that's better, but it has been nice to see how much she's actually grown even just during the lockdown. But, point being is that good behaviors are being created right now. Just the other day, a colleague of mine, and I'm super jealous, actually said she's ever been more fit in her life. And this is all without, excuse me, access to a gym. And everyone across all generations, from my 2-year-old son all the way up to my 75-year-old grandfather, knows the power of video conferencing and FaceTime and is learning how to Zoom. And how to work remotely and distance e-learn. So, but from a business perspective, again, this is that rare opportunity to really rethink your business from the ground up and start that transformation process now. What the better normal, again, looks like is uncertain, but you need a strategy now and form the strategy to really mitigate that uncertainty in the future. And again, it really is times like this that drive innovation. It's not about just surviving the next 2 months. It's about transforming your business for years to come. You can think about some of the innovations that came out of the Great Recession in 2008, right? Companies like Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, as the rise of the gig economy occurred and consumer paradigms were shifting. We can also think about software as a service, SaaS. So IBM started that well before '08, but it really took companies like Dropbox and Asana to start and continue to flourish through software as a service even today. So all examples of companies that were disruptive because they were able to react to the change in consumer paradigms and not hold on to what things were. And Uber, again, is in the news as they're looking to potentially expand on Uber Eats with the acquisition of Grubhub. So we'll see what happens there. So how can we start to embrace transformation? We've distilled the approach to 3 key steps, and there's pieces within these. But at a high level, it's facing your new reality, finding your new value, and building your new future. And each of your businesses is different. Each of these steps will apply at varying degrees. But I think we can all agree that now is a time that we should be going through this process, and quickly, to really understand where your potential gaps and weaknesses are, so that you can begin building now to future-proof your business through that transformation process. So, step 1, what does your new reality look like? We have some high-level questions that you should be asking yourself and your team, and they fall into 4 key areas that we'll drill into. So they tend to get a little bit deeper, potentially harder, and maybe more personal as we go, but it's something that we really need to face. So category, customer, business, and team. So how has your category or vertical been impacted? Depending on what category you're in, you're probably at completely different ends of the spectrum. For example, we know that the travel industry has and will continue to take a huge hit as consumers are either unable or unwilling to go on vacation because of fear of illness or lack of disposable income because they're unemployed. Alternatively, you could be a company like Clorox. Huge demand for disinfecting wipes right now. Clorox literally cannot keep up. They've experienced a 145% increase in sales year over year. And while they've increased production capacity by 40%, they still don't think they'll meet demand until late summer. That's crazy, right? So how are they going to look to transform their business to account for this new consumer behavior and need? And I bet that even as they're struggling to update their operations to meet the current demand, they're probably also looking at developing new products to continue to expand their market share. And how about Zoom? Today we're on Zoom. Zoom is now a household name these days. But coming into the pandemic, it was more of a fringe video conferencing platform fighting amongst the big guys like Skype, GoToMeeting, and Cisco WebEx. But they arguably won COVID because they were easy to adopt and affordable. Yes, we know that there are some scrutiny around their security issues, and now they can require updates, but they're moving quickly to adapt to those issues. And in fact, I think just earlier this week, there was a new update that got pushed out. So, these are all changes that are happening out and about, and depending on what category you're in, you need to look at that. But we also think it's important to really be honest with yourself and ask if your category and your competition were already moving past you. And did the pandemic, this disruption, did it just accelerate that change? If you really look at your business, were things already happening? Did you have that on your to-do list? You were going to get to it, but now it has now crept up in terms of being a priority because of this disruption. So going a level deeper, let's take a look at your customer. So we're all customers to something, right? Think about how your own customer journey has changed. What are some of those new habits and perspectives that have already formed and we're likely going to stick after this? So at a high level, we know that everyone is spending way more time online. Internet traffic has surged by 30% globally. All of Facebook's platforms, so Facebook, WhatsApp, Messenger, surging with 3 billion monthly users now. Connected TV saw a 60% increase in usage as consumers are getting more and more comfortable with cutting the cord. And Netflix has added 16 million new subscribers in Q1, which is more than double what they were expecting. Talk about companies that were able to transform. Netflix is a great example of a company that did that culturally and is now in a position to really be future-proof. On a personal front, online ordering, not something that we did a bunch, honestly, in the DeFreitas household, but now I appreciate the convenience of ordering online, and it's now an event that we look forward to on a weekly basis because we can take a break from cooking and cleaning. And this is a behavior that is likely to stick. So if you're in the restaurant space, knowing how to improve that experience, make it more convenient, make it easier for people like me to continue to want to engage that way. So are you currently set up to capitalize on all of these changes, right? Your consumer is learning new ways of engaging the world and therefore your business. When was the last time you looked at your customer and studied their journey? Even better, when was the last time you created new paths for them to find you? If you haven't done any of that work recently, it's probably a good time to revisit, as that journey has likely changed over the last few months. And tactically, if you didn't have a website strategy or an e-commerce presence before, then that's probably going to float to the top of your priority list if you want to continue to stay relevant. Which brings us to your business. So how do you transform your business to be relevant in not only today, but tomorrow's environment? Maybe more important, how do you transform your business to feel essential to current and potential customers? Unfortunately, this is not just about what you think is important or your current skill set, right? You have to balance your passion and your knowledge with the new consumer mindset, or again, at risk of being irrelevant. So looking back at those shifts in the category and your customer should help provide some focus in terms of where you need to pivot your business. So as you're looking at that, ask yourself, what parts of your business are still relevant? What assets can be repurposed or pivoted to be successful in this new environment? Spoiler alert, this is not let's sell our product online kind of approach. It has to be more holistic than that. If it were that easy, then everyone would be doing it. It's about creating an immersive brand experience in a digital world, right? How do you bring your current products and services to intersect with how consumers are prioritizing their time and dollars? So it's probably a crawl, walk, run approach for many of you. And you likely have already started with a lot of rebound tactics, things that have gotten you through to today. But now is the time to move to reinvention and transformation and start to look outside of what you have and start to create and build what you don't. And finally, for many of you, your business is your team. So understanding how this new reality is impacting them on a personal and professional level will help you be the leader you need to be in order to drive that change. Right, in our current situation, we're all thinking about things like isolation, collaboration, burnout, and checking out. And those are all things that you have to navigate and lead through. And I'm sure you've all been on more Zoom happy hours than you can count at this point, but that is how business communication is currently being transformed. So, as I think about it, it was awkward to have to always turn my camera on, but going through this process for the last couple of months, coming out of it, is it going to be okay to not have your camera on going forward when you're having a business confirmation? I don't know. That might start to feel weird, right? So, this is another behavior that is starting to become enculturated. So when we think about your business transformation, it really is, in terms of your team, it's about creating that space for them to feel comfortable and supported so that they can step up and help you to drive that transformation. Your teams are the doers, but we know it takes fierce leadership. And so take note of who's getting things done in times of distress and continue to invest in those people. So believe it or not, that's really just step one. And it's really a defensive strategy, to bring in some sports analogy, because I know lots of people are missing that. So it's defensive, it's facing your reality, and that's just the start. So this is that potentially hard and painful thinking, but really the necessary foundation in order to embark on the path to transformation, which is to find your new value. So now that you've taken the necessary time to reflect, what is your new value proposition? What will you mean to your future customer, and what role will you play in their lives? How will your business look after transformation as it is set up to service this new value? So again, whatever that value proposition is, it has to be driven by customer insight and behavior change. As our work from home and family from home worlds have collided, people are working more, longer, and harder. And a trend that has been rising is the care around mental and physical health, the priority there. And many consumers, that's where they're spending their dollars right now, their limited dollars. So what can you do to add value to this new chain? What other macro level needs are your customers experiencing right now in the business that you can potentially solve with a little creative thinking and some product innovation? And how about other trends like the rise of e-learning and telehealth? Are there parts of your business that can be repurposed to further in that innovation that is already happening? Focus on creating more opportunities for connection with your customer, whether that is through product offerings or communication. But again, don't just come up with more stuff to sell them or throw your stuff online, right? You have to shift your mindset to be focused on giving them more reasons to have your business and your brand in their lives on an ongoing basis. And here's the thing, big takeaway for today. If you checked out, please come back, put up the slide. Digital is not the new thing anymore. It is the thing. And business transformation is not actually the end goal. It is a byproduct. It's actually digital transformation that will drive your business transformation. That is what the current environment is calling for. This is where your consumers are and where we will all continue to be. So this may sound obvious, but I do challenge everyone on the webinar today to really think about your business through a digital first lens. We did a poll of some industry leaders, and 75% said that business transformation was important. But when asked about digital transformation, that jumped to 77%. The reality is that those things go hand in hand, right? But in the current environment, it really is digital that is leading that change. Interestingly enough, in the same survey, digital transformation investment came last behind things like operations, customer service, marketing, and sales. That's a little bit scary. So, what we're telling you now is if you're one of those people that thought digital transformation was important, but you're not willing to put the investment behind it, that is a mistake, right? It starts there and it will become your business. So it's not a let's tack on a digital thing to our current business. We're not talking about spinning up an Amazon store or a Shopify website or even just spending some dollars on Facebook. We are talking about a true digital first strategy for your business. In an IMM, we believe in a holistic approach to creating those digital components of your business, from operations through to marketing, and certainly along and across each part of the customer journey. If anything, this disruption has shown us that the businesses that were already ahead of the curve on their digital strategy were much better positioned to weather the current phase and are already gearing up to thrive coming out of the lockdown. So if you can be the champion of digital as the thing within your organization, it will become the linchpin for the rest of your business. In short, digital transformation leads, business transformation follows, and you all have a big role to play in that. And if you're able to personally drive that within your organization, you will become indispensable. So the good news is that digital transformation doesn't have to be solely driven by your internal teams. And, we do see a lot of success when external resources are leveraged. They provide fresh perspective. They challenge what you believe to be sacred. They challenge what you think you know, and reveal what you don't. And believe me, I feel it too. Innovating through exhaustion and survival mode feels next to impossible right now. We do have to acknowledge that, but we can't get complacent with a status quo mentality or get overwhelmed by there's just too much to do. So take a breath, take a moment, enlist some experts, and create that bench of trusted advisors to really help push your thinking in a productive way, right? And take care to choose partners that know how to manage digital transformation, as we said. Some of the transformation task force can and should be members of your existing team, and then you should leverage an external partner to bridge those skills gaps and allow those partners to really provide that unique thinking, objective thinking, and not just be bandwidth, for example. So step 2, you faced your reality, you've faced it head on, you've built your defensive strategy. Now you're building your offense, finding your new value through what you know to be the new reality and the new customer journey. And in this current reality today, it really is about that digital transformation leading. And you're not alone. Find a team that you trust and help you navigate through and beyond that process. So the third step is probably the most fun, but also the most work and where you will spend the most time. So this is really building your future state. And because it is really execution oriented, we put together basically an execution plan for you all. Many companies have a lot of great ideas, but fall completely flat when it comes to execution. So this is to serve as a high level roadmap to help you get through all the work that still needs to be done. So choose your internal and external team. Again, if this means that certain talents needs to be redirected or refocused, be transparent, have that conversation sooner rather than later. If it means researching potential experts, start with your network, start with people you know and trust, and go from there. Then you want to rally the teams around your digital transformation. This is where you really get to be inspiring, right? New leaders within your organization will start to raise their hands and emerge as you put a finer focus on that value and as they get excited about it. There also may be things that you don't know at this stage, and that's okay. Just acknowledge what they are and have a plan to assess and address them as you go. But definitely don't, only in step 2 here, hold up the transformation train until you have all the answers, because then you'll end up never leaving the station. So in terms of building new systems, processes, and products, right? This is the heavy lift here. What needs to be built or changed in order to pivot to your new business? Depending on your category, this likely ranges from product development to operations and could even involve regulatory bodies such as the FTC or the FDA. The long and short of it is that it's much easier said than done. You will spend a lot of time here, but it can also be a lot of fun. As you're coming through that, you want to make sure you're communicating shift to existing customers, right? You can't forget about your loyalists. You want to be, just as you're transparent with your team, you want to be transparent with them. If you tell them what's going on, why you're doing it, and what's in it for them, they are much more likely to stay with you. Even better would be to engage them and get their feedback, because when you bring your customers with you along in this transformation process, they are much likely to stay with you through it and become advocates for your new value and business coming out of it. And then of course, we want to be talking to our new and future customers. Remember, we're talking about a digitally connected and savvy consumer these days. So have a plan to both engage in commerce with them across your own paid and earned channels. And remember that this is not just a one-time interaction. You want to assume that every new customer is your next loyalist and advocate, so treat them as such. And last but not least, you want to keep tabs on how you're doing and hold yourself and your teams accountable. Have a realistic plan of what the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months should look like in terms of success, and make sure you're measuring against it. It may not be perfect out of the gate, but what you don't want to do is wait 12 months and figure out that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. There really should be a culture of iteration through this transformation process, because we know shifts and pivots, smaller shifts and pivots will likely need to happen as you go. So step 3 is immersive, right? You've built your defense, you've built your offense, and now it's time to run the play. So get into the details, activate against the thinking to really become future-proof. So again, we're closing out the presentation here for today. 3 steps to embracing transformation, which in this world is a digital transformation. You know, we don't know exactly what the future may bring, but we do know it is moments like this that drive innovation, and you don't want to be left behind. If you're not approaching your next week, month, or quarter with a transformation mindset, know that a competitor is, and know that they are working to transform your category right out from under you. So start now, and not only will you survive, you will actually thrive as you uncover new opportunities. And finally, some parting words of encouragement. We're all human. I mean, in preparation for this webinar, I had to find my hairdryer this morning because that's not a thing as of late. But honestly, we know that this is not easy, and it's scary for a lot of you. So be bold, be courageous, and know that not doing anything right now is actually scarier than clinging to what little you left of you have of the past. Remember, that is not your run-of-the-mill business transformation we're talking about right now. It is a digital transformation, and you get this right, you get it right now, and you will be set up to be the business of the future. So thank you for your time today. And at the very least, I hope you got a little inspiration or kick in the butt to do something different about your business tomorrow, and not necessarily wallow or cling to the past. So with that, I'll kick it over to Ashley for some of the Q&A.
Awesome. Thanks, Gina. So many inspiring points. You shared a great roadmap for how to approach the daunting but imperative task of transformation. We have received a number of great questions, so I will jump into those and get started. The first one we have here is a great one. Is digital transformation a marketing problem, and should it be?
So no, it's not just a marketing problem, right? Digital transformation, especially as we're talking about it today, really is an organizational challenge. That being said, a lot of times it will fall at the feet of marketing because of their involvement with the digital channels, such as the website or social media or digital media for that matter. The reality, as we said, is it really should be across the organization, and that it is a great opportunity for everyone to actually work together. You know, marketing, IT, operations, customer success teams really should be sitting at the table together as you think about what you need to do from a digital transformation standpoint, and therefore that business transformation.
Awesome. Great points. Another really good one that I'm seeing here is around the trusted advisors. You mentioned engaging trusted advisors. What are the top 3 areas of the business you'd suggest top 3 areas of the business you'd suggest resourcing an external advisor for?
Sure. Yeah. And this one will vary, right? It depends on your organization and the teams you have internally, the talent you have. But sort of 3 areas that we think tend to come up often with our clients. So that initial category and business assessment. So really looking outside of your 4 walls and taking a hard look at what's happening in terms of the trends, and also looking at adjacent categories, right? It can be really hard, as we've said, to be objective about your business and how it's playing within the category. So having an external party help you through that is really helpful. Also, the customer journey mapping, right? So similarly, taking a look at macro trends and how we're all our customer journeys have changed, but applying them to your category and your business, and also creating those new touch points that maybe you didn't realize were available to you, and can be part of your future business. And lastly, I'd say, and this one is maybe a little bit more obvious, is data. So you should have data feeding into all parts of the transformation process, but sometimes we find that organizations don't know where to find it. Once they find it, they're not sure how to connect all the different pieces and parts, right? So IT, operations, marketing, sales. So really pulling all of those pieces together, helping you to actually pull out actionable insights that can lead to a better transformation process.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I mean, I know the team at IMM has really benefited a lot of clients by just finding new ways to cut their data and finding new truths in the data. And that's something we really pride ourselves on. So data is definitely a great point. Another one that's really interesting that I want to touch on that came through the Q&A is around customer experience. We talked about customer experience and digital transformation, but this question is, how does customer experience fit into digital transformation?
Sure. Yeah. They're really inseparable, right? Like, you know, you have your customer experience aspects in the physical environment, but when it comes to digital transformation, again, we're not just talking about digital media, right? So the customer experience and digital transformation should really be hand in glove and should be an immersive experience. So, you know, again, we're talking about all touch points with your customer. Everything should have some sort of digital component, whether that's customer care, loyalty, acquisition, commerce, right? They should all have a digital component, and it really is a forever mission, right? Like as I said, every new customers should be treated as your most loyal customer, your next big advocate. So really putting care into that immersive brand experience online is what's going to help continue to have that impact.
Yeah, they definitely fit directly in together. Totally agree. I really like this question because it brings us back to the humanity and the human parts of transformation. It's about leadership and management. This person asks, how do you suggest I manage up during a crisis like this? And can you suggest any ways that I can share business transformation ideas with my executive team?
Oh yeah, that is a great question. It's great that you're thinking about that, right? This is it means your head is in the right place. So, from personal experience at IMM, we have established regular one-on-ones with your direct manager. I would start there, right? Really having that transparent conversation, explain to your manager what's on your mind, how you're thinking about it, and hopefully get them to advocate for you to have a much larger conversation. If that's not working, another thing that I like to tell the team is to lead from where you are, control what you can control. So if you're still having a hard time breaking through, take it upon yourself to put together a handful of slides, right? So what is the idea? Why is it important? Why does it matter? And what are some ideas of how to execute against that idea? Executives like to have something to actually react to versus, having a question being laid at their feet. So if you can do some of the heavy lifting and thinking, you might have a much better chance of getting that floated all the way to the top.
Awesome. Great suggestions. And we have a couple more questions, but I'm going to take this as the last one and we'll go ahead and address the rest directly with each of you. But I think this one is really important and it's with regards to e-commerce. And I think we see this with a lot of brands that we work with at IMM and just in the e-commerce space in general. But the question is, most of my digital sales come through Amazon. Do I need an e-commerce strategy outside of relying on Amazon? And if so, why?
Yeah, great question too. So yes, I would say definitely, emphatically, yes, you do need a strategy outside of Amazon. It is a great platform for selling. But as brands grow and evolve, they want more control of their customer experience, right? So if you think about any of the e-tailers, Walmart, Target, Amazon, when you're sending people to their sites, you've created an Amazon customer and not necessarily a your brand customer. So you don't, once you send them there, yes, they're going to your store, your product, but they have a plethora of options to distract them once they're in that environment. So really having your own e-commerce presence and strategy is important in order to maintain that conversation with the consumer and to really have that immersive experience. And so, this is not to say you shouldn't have an Amazon platform, Amazon store, but we just believe, again, in that more holistic approach to the customer journey. So they can do the research that they need. They can read about your brand, your beliefs, all of that through your presence if they choose to go on Amazon because that's how they've been enculturated to do so, then great. But you need to also make it frictionless for them to commerce on your site as well. So again, that digital transformation should be holistic. You should include Amazon, but it shouldn't be the only thing that you have in terms of your digital presence.
Got it. Well, all great questions and great answers. Thank you so much, Gina.
Yeah.
It sounds like what it really comes down to is, taking stock of what's happening internally, identifying new ways for you to expand and thrive in this new reality, and then execute, do something, identify people in your organization that work really hard and want to make the change, and identify those external resources that can support you and be a partner throughout that transformation. I want to thank all of you for attending today. We hope this was valuable. As I said earlier, we will be making a recording available and a one-sheeter with the key takeaways. So we'll be sharing that. And, if you need someone to talk to, want to talk about everything we discussed today, have more questions, want to be on Zoom, off Zoom, FaceTime, text, Instagram, whatever, we're here for you, and we're happy to chat. So feel free to reach out to myself or Gina at any time. Our contact information is on the slide here, and we look forward to connecting with you and hopefully seeing you all again soon. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, everyone stay well. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.